Hello there, fellow content creator. Now, tell me this. Have you ever had your Ecamm scenes all set up, but then when it's time to actually use it and press that go live button, you freeze a little bit? Maybe you have a host scene all set up already. Maybe you have a screen share or a demo scene all created. All looks great. You've got borders, you've got, all the fancy text. Maybe you have overlays, a guest view, maybe a break or a check the chat scene created, or you may even have a stream deck all set up with the Ecamm buttons. It might all look good. It might technically work, but when it's actually time to press the go live or record your videos, your brain starts thinking, now, okay, which scene do I start on? When do I go and switch to the next one? What do I click? Okay, what if I choose the wrong scenes? Okay, that's normally me frazzled when I'm not prepared. So what I'm going to be talking today is all about that, where you're going, what am I talking about? And then you suddenly forget what you're supposed to do. Okay, so you find yourself having the setup that you created, instead of it making it easier for you, right? Easier for you to manage, instead it freezes you, right? So that is exactly what we're going to talk about, not how to create more Ecamm scenes, or if you're using some other live streaming software. So I use Ecamm, not a sponsored live stream, but it's one that I use. Okay, so we're not going to create more scenes today. It's not about making your setup look fancier. We're not going to talk about every Ecamm feature, which I know for a lot of us, me included, that when we download a new app or a new tool, we want to know how everything works before we even start using it for our live stream or recording. So what today's going to be about is how to use the scenes you already have, or if you're new to Ecamm or new to going live, maybe creating simple scenes that you're about to create without actually freezing or feeling overwhelmed or confused. Okay, so by the end of the live stream, I want you to have a simple way to move through your scenes, so then pressing go live and recording is gonna feel less baffling. Not perfect, just less baffling. Hello, if you are new to my channel, I am Marianne. I help women simplify live streaming and create a workflow, so then that way going live or recording is going to feel a lot calmer and less overwhelming. So today what we're going to do is talk about a stage that I think a lot of people get stuck in. It's not the stage where you've never heard of Ecamm. It's the stage where you may already have downloaded Ecamm, which is a Mac creative studio for live streaming and recording. And if you want a podcast, you may have actually already watched tutorials, especially from the Ecamm community manager, Jill. You may have joined workshops or webinars. You may have even created the lovely scene similar to what I have, and you may have someone, help you set things up. But then when it comes to time to actually use that setup for your own live streams or recording, it feels like it's a lot. And this is the bit I want to name clearly today. Creating a scene is not the same as knowing how to run your show, because knowing where the buttons are is not the same as feeling confident using them when you're speaking, when you're teaching, or when you're recording, and then you're also checking your notes, you're changing scenes and trying to stay present with your audience. So today we're going to keep it really practical. We're going to make your scene feel less like a collection of buttons and actually more like a simple path you can follow. Step 1, step 2, step 3. All right, so if you are new to me, Marianne, whether here on this channel, Marianne on YouTube, or my other channel, Marianne Cress, where I talk about planning, productivity, well-being, and self-care, I love analogies. So let's talk about a car analogy. All right. So think of it a little like learning how to drive a car. Now, someone can show you all the parts inside the car. All right, here's the steering wheel. Here's how you adjust your seat. There are the indicators. There's the brake, and here's the gear stick. And they can even show you how they drive it. Of course, that's all very, very helpful. But when they get out and say, okay, now it's your turn, it's a completely different feeling, okay? Because knowing what the parts are is not the same as feeling ready to drive the car yourself. And that is what Ecamm can feel like when you first start, when you first download it, or you first start watching tutorial. Okay, you might know all the scenes, and I've had clients create beautiful scenes already. They know all the things that they need for whether they're teaching or product demonstrations, but actually when it comes time to press and go live, they're still stuck, they're still frozen. All right, so you might also have watched someone else build their beautiful setup, and you might even have your own scenes ready. You've dabbled a few here, laid out, put your watermark and your logo. But then when it's time for you to actually press go live or record and move through the scenes that you created, your brain can still freeze. All right, so today is not about adding more parts to the car, if we're using our car and driving analogy. It's about learning how to drive the setup that you already have. Okay, so if you are here with me today, make sure to say hello in the chat. Well, so what are we going to do today? Today, we're going to make your scenes, if you've created them already or ones that you'll create very, very soon, we're going to make them feel less like a collection of buttons and more like a simple path that you can follow, right? So we're not going to start with what you'll create. What we're going to do is we're going to start with what you're creating next, okay? Whether that's a recorded video, a podcast, a demonstration, or a live stream. Once you've figured out what you want to make next, we're going to match the scenes to that flow, and then we're going to make it very, very simple and, take anything out that's going to make you freeze. And that's it. That's what today's live stream is about. So the goal is not to finish with a perfect setup. The goal is to finish with a setup that you are actually going to know how to use. It's all good and well that there is the car there, but if you don't know how to drive it for the destination that you want to go to next, then that is where the frozen part comes in. And we don't want to be frozen anymore. We want to be sharing the value, sharing our knowledge, sharing the skill, and servicing the customer, the viewer, our potential client, the service, the knowledge that we know and that they need right now. If you ain't going live or you're not recording and uploading video, how are they going to find you and how can you help them? Okay, so if you are here live with me, I'd love for you to say hi in the chat and let me know this. Do you already have Ecamm scene set up or other scenes from other live streaming apps? Have you got things set up for Zoom, for LinkedIn? Are you using OBS? Are you using StreamYard? Okay, so if yes, what part is feeling clunky, heavy, not easy for you to manage? Is it knowing where to start? What scenes you need to create? How do you move from one scene to another? So a scene is these things that you see. Whatever the frame your viewer is seeing is a scene. Okay, so this is called a talking to camera or a host scene. Or do you know how to create screen sharing? Maybe you've even purchased an Elgato Stream Deck and it's still sitting on the desk, not being used, or I know some people have bought it, months ago and it's still in the box. Or is it still, or is it just remembering what to do next? And of course, if you are watching on replay as well, you can leave your answer in the comments as well. Okay, so let's all get going. If there's any aha moments or any questions, please type it in the chat and I'm more than happy to come back to it in between today's live stream. So step one, start with what you're creating next. All right, you go, all right, pretty simple. But the first thing I want you to do is step away from the scenes or from Ecamm or from any of your live streaming app just for a moment, okay? So don't worry about that for a second. Before we touch the setup, before we think about overlays, overlays are graphics, text, making it all pretty with borders and shadow, drop shadow, okay? Before we think about those things and before we think about, the Stream Deck buttons and all our camera and all our gear, I want you to ask this question. What am I actually creating next? Not someday, not in the distant future. In 6 months' time, I'd like to upload a video about this, or I want to live stream this. I want you to think, what is the thing that you want to actually create next? Just the next one, not someday, not every possible live stream, show, podcast that you might ever do, just the next thing. Maybe it's talking to a camera video just like this, okay? Where you're just giving your value, your insights, talking to your viewer. Maybe you're teaching a live stream. Or maybe you're sharing a tutorial on screen. You may have created, a PowerPoint presentation, keynote presentation. So you want to go and share that tutorial on screen. Or maybe it's a product demonstration. You do tech gear, you have unboxing videos, you use different things in your own workflow that you might want to share and show the viewer that might be interested in it. Maybe you do Q&A sessions, okay? So the exact form of what you want to create, all right, is actually going to matter because the content decides the scene flow, not the other way around. And this is where I think, including me, you get stuck is because you want to go, okay, I want to create this scene and I want to have this happen. And when I talk about this, I want it to go to that. Okay, so just sort of another analogy and talking about scene is like a stage play. You don't create the scenes before you know the story that you want to tell. So this is exactly that. What am I actually creating next? Just the next one. And that is going to decide the flow of your scene and what your viewer sees. Okay, so if you don't know what you're creating, every scene is going to start to feel important. Oh, I want to make this. Oh, I want to make that next. Or every overlay that you're going to think is going to be useful. Or every button feels like something that, no, maybe I should add that on my Stream Deck. Or maybe I should learn about that first. But when you know this is the next thing I'm creating, guess what happens? It becomes much easier to decide what scenes will actually matter. So the first action step is simple. I want you to write down one sentence, okay? So grab your pen and paper and I want you to write the thing I want to use Ecamm or swap out whatever live streaming app or tool that you use, or the thing I want to use my live streaming app for next is, okay? And that is it. That's your homework for the first, because they always say just do the first next actionable simple thing. The thing I want to use Ecamm for is, okay? So that could be teaching a live stream or Next is a recorded tutorial. Maybe you don't want to go live stream yet because you're still a little bit nervous, but you want to make sure you are recording and uploading videos. Or the thing could be, I want to use Ecamm for is a Q&A session because I'm getting a lot of people commenting on my Instagram, commenting on my Facebook page. And so instead of answering them one at a time, I'm going to create a live stream where I answer their question. Okay, so once you know that, you are no longer building a setup for every possible thing. And when you're trying to think of every possible thing, that's where the overwhelm and the freeze and the frozenness can creep in. You're building a setup for the next thing, and that will instantly reduce your overwhelm. All right, so write down the next thing I want to use Ecamm for next is, and let me tell you, that's going to release a lot of the pressure. All right, so what's the next thing? Step 2 is we're going to write the simple flow before you touch more scenes. Okay, so again, if you're like me and watch a lot of tutorials and watch other people's show and you go, oh, I want to make that. Oh, I want to make that scene. Oh, I want to also be able to do that on my show. Okay, but stop, because once you know what you're creating, I want you to write the order. Okay, not a full script. Okay, not every word, although disclosure, I love scripts. I like to use scripts because it's something that helps calm me. And of course, I want to be succinct in the things that I share with you. But that came with time. That came after, 2-3 years of going live, having just the bullet points written down. So I don't want you to write a full script if that is the part that's going to freeze you, right? So you don't need to write every word, just the order of what happens, because this is where a lot of the Ecamm overwhelm can come from. And I've seen it. I've seen it in some of my clients. They already have the Ecamm scenes and it looks beautiful. I've seen it. It looks great. It looks so professional, yet they haven't pressed record often enough or gone live often enough, which is what they really want to do. Okay, so that's where a lot of the overwhelm can come in, because it's not always the scenes themselves or the Ecamm tool or the Stream Deck buttons. Okay, it's not knowing when to use them. That's where the overwhelm comes in, is you've got everything all sorted, but you don't know how to actually use them. So before you practice in Ecamm, I want you to write a simple flow, okay? Simple show flow, all right? So this is one that I created, all right? So I had a basic show flow for what to say during your live stream. Again, it's about knowing the path, knowing the steps to take, so you're not trying to second guess or try and remember it all while you are live streaming. Okay, you have your notes, and guess what? It's actually okay to look down or look at it, maybe you have a monitor to the side or you have a teleprompter. It's okay to look down and refer to them. You don't talk to someone with eye contact or, at 100% all the time. You look in here, you're, trying to recall, okay? So it's okay to have notes. So write a simple workflow. So if you're teaching, okay, if you're teaching live stream where you have steps you want them to follow, that might look like, okay, you're going to start, you're going to welcome your viewers, you're going to introduce your topic, then you move on to the main teaching points. Maybe you're going to show a slide, an image, a product demo, and then you're going to come back to you as the camera, and then you mention the call to action, and then you close your live stream or your video, and that's enough. All right, what about for a record your tutorial? Okay, so it might be, you start on camera as using a host scene, so it's just you, and then you might switch to a screen share like this, where you might be showing an application. In this case, it's a Stream Deck, and you want to teach your viewer how to use it or how to program the buttons, and then maybe you show the steps, and then you come back to you again as the host, and then you end the live stream or you end the video. That's also enough, okay? The point is not to make a complicated show plan, right? We're not creating a big Broadway show if we're talking about stages, okay? The point is to know the order. What's going to happen first? What's going to happen next? When do I need to show something? When do I come back to the camera? And how do I end my live stream? Because once you have a clear order of what to do, guess what? The scene that you created or are about to create, they start to have a job. They have a purpose. They're not just pretty layout sitting there. They become part of the path, right? So each step will have a particular scene, and then that scene has a job to do based on the show flow that you wrote down. Okay, so if you're watching the replay, this is a good place for you to pause and write a rough flow for your next, right? Just the next one for your next live or recorded video. And just, 5 to 7 lines is enough. You start it, you welcome, you introduce your topic, you might want to interact with the live chat, you show the main teaching, you give a call to action, and you end the live stream, okay? You don't need a perfect plan. You just need an order. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on. All right, so if you're liking this live stream so far, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, because these are the things that I wish I knew before I started creating, scenes or going live, that I was frozen for a while because I had paralysis analysis, or I wanted to make things perfect before I press go live. And that is lost opportunity, right? How can your viewer find you, or how can you share that valuable information to the person that may have needed it yesterday if we're here busy tinkering with, how we want our scenes to look, okay? I love my scenes, but it's taken me a while, and I perfected it. What do they say? Improve 1% at a time, okay? So the next part is, now what we're going to do is we're going to match the scenes to the flow that we have written down, okay? So now it's time to go back to Ecamm. All right, so this is where the Ecamm tool, again, insert whatever live streaming app you're using yourself. So it's not just, this live stream is not just exclusive for Ecamm users. It's just what I know, what I use, but please go and use whatever live streaming app you have yourself. So look at your flow, okay? So those are the steps that you wrote down, and ask, which scene do I need for each part? Okay, so this is where you start using your scene instead of just looking at them, right? I'm sure you might have already scenes created, but then you go, have I given each scene a job? Okay, so if the flow starts with you speaking to the camera, you might need a host scene. So that's just you on camera. You don't have to have every other things, any fancy things like your logo. You don't have to have that. You may not want to have text at the bottom. You may not need a rounded corner or borders or drop shadows. It could just be straight to camera on the view, on the viewfinder, and what your viewer is either watching on their phone, on their computer, or on their TV. Okay, so if you're speaking to the camera, you need a host scene. Okay, now if your flow or show flow includes showing something, you need a screen share. So if you are like me on my other channel, Marianne Cresp, where I'm showing Plan With Me sessions, okay, I have a top-down camera. So you might have a second or an iPhone that you use for top-down camera, or, webcam for another camera setup, or you might have, your PowerPoint presentation, your keynote, maybe a Canva presentation that you are going to move and scroll through while you're teaching. Okay, so whatever it is, you might have something that has you on camera as well as what it is that you're sharing. Screen share, demonstration, product, or, a teaching scene. So then that way, whatever you're talking about has more impact, okay? Because a lot of learners learn visually, and they can process the input a lot better when they can also actually see what you're talking about visually. Okay, so now if the flow that you have for your next live stream or the next video needed to pause, or you may need to have a break scene, or maybe you want to check, the comments on the live stream. I have a few people here that are shy that I can see. That's okay. That's all right. Okay. You might have a comments scene, or, where you can share their comments on the screen, just like this one. So I create a dedicated check the chat scene. Okay. So then that way, if I want to bring a comment on the screen that other, viewers can see, I would create what is called a dedicated check the chat scene. And this is also a good one to create if you want to repurpose your videos for other platforms like Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, and you don't want to have the comments overlay, sitting there sort of like cut, because a vertical will only show this. Okay, so you might have a dedicated comment or check the chat screen that you can bring in the comments or moments where you want to check them. And that's it. Okay, you're not asking what scenes could I possibly use, right? You're asking what scenes do I need for this show, for this next show flow. That's a very different question. And this is where you might realize, okay, I actually don't need as much as I thought. I thought I had to have all these fancy scenes, because for many people, the most useful starting scenes are a host scene, a show something scene, a pause or check the chat scene, and that alone can make your live stream or recording feel much more manageable. Okay, if you need help building those scenes, I do have a video that helps you create those 3 simple scenes. So create 3 simple Ecamm scenes with me. I do it live, and it's a really good one if you're a beginner, or you just you've had Ecamm maybe for a while, and all your scenes are all messy, and maybe you want to start from scratch and get some ideas and information. I'll link that in the description below. Okay, so really important, just just create the scenes for the simple show flow of the recorded or live stream video that you need to create next. Okay, that's all you got to do, one step at a time. And guess what will happen? When you start doing this, you build more confidence, and then that's when you can add the flair. You can add a little bit more stuff. You can make it all pretty, and get yourself, like here I have a grid. All right, the grid, just white grid background that you can see in all the scenes. That's when you can start add bits and pieces at a time. But don't start out having the most beautiful scenes that you ain't even using, because you're too scared to press go live. All right, so let me know if there's how this is shaping up for you in your head. Is it sort of like, are you thawing now because you're not as frozen? Okay, so following these steps is going to help ease that stuckness for you. All right, so guess what? This is the fun bit. Now we get to go and practice movement between each scene. Okay, so we are going to go and look at, we've created the scenes, we know how to move through it, and this is the part that I really want you to pay attention to. Don't just create the scenes. Practice moving through them. Okay, so again, using our car analogy and driving analogy, you got to log in those, driving, what do you call it? Yeah, driving hours. Okay, so this is important because this is where the confidence comes from. Knowing what scenes to have, knowing the show flow, having the buttons is all great. But if you don't know how to use them, or you're not practicing moving through them, that's the thing that can help you feel stuck. Okay? So it's not about having the prettiest setup. It's not, the confidence doesn't come from adding more overlays, adding more things to the screen that you think, all right, maybe hopefully I can distract them and they won't see how nervous I am. Look, I still get nervous, but the nerves, that's excitement because you really want to share something that you know might help someone. Okay, the confidence, it doesn't come from learning every Ecamm feature. So if you're still stuck in that mode, wanting to, I want to know every button and I want to know every feature before I even can confidently go live, that's not where confidence comes from. Because confidence comes from knowing I start here, then I click this, then I come back to here, then I pause here, then I end here. So practice the actual movement and keep it simple. Okay, so let's do a practice run. Okay, so maybe you want to welcome in your live streaming viewers. Hello, nice to see you. This is what this live stream is going to be about. And then you want to show them something. So here is my planner that, I use for my planning at my other channel, Marianne Crest. And then maybe you want to talk a little bit and, bring them in. And, so then that way, whatever you say next has more impact, more oomph, okay? And then you might want to go, if there are people in the chat, maybe you want to go and check the chat and see, what they're saying, if they're having engagement, they've answered any of your questions. And then you might want to go back to you, where you might, do a recap, or you might tell them a next, call to action, and then you go and end the stream. All right. You want to go transition to the next video that you want them to watch. Okay. That is driving the car part of live streaming. You don't need to practice a full 1 hour live stream. You can do a 5-minute recording. Okay, I used to think, a podcast needs to last for half an hour. I've done podcast on my other channel that's for 6 minutes. Okay, so don't think that you have to have a 1 hour live stream. You can do a 5-minute recording. You can do an unlisted live. Okay, there is nothing stopping you from practicing, pressing go live, and just having it go to your unlisted or private uploads on YouTube. You can do a private test. You can do it with no audience. I think I have a few audience now, but they're not saying much, and that's okay, because what you're saying still has value for those watching on the replay. Okay, so don't think, what if no one watches me? What if no one's, commenting? It still has value, because if you're live streaming and you don't have anybody there, just think of it as if you're recording and just uploading it. It's the same thing. I'm talking to a lens right now, okay? But I'm talking to the person that I need to reach who's feeling stuck, and they have done the setup and still haven't used it. The point is to make the movement familiar. And because when the movement becomes familiar, the setup feels less baffling. It's not the scariest thing in the room, okay? You're no longer trying to remember every scene and every feature. all you're doing is you're following a path, okay? So for those of you that are here live, I want to know which transition feels the most awkward for you. So if you have done a couple of live streams or recorded your video, is it going from a host to a screen share where, hang on, where is that? You're looking for the scenes on your laptop or your computer, or trying to figure out which button to press if you have a stream deck? Is it coming back from a screen share back to the camera? Is that where it feels a little bit awkward? Is it using a break scene or showing the comments on scene? Or do you feel most awkward when you end your live stream? And again, if you're watching the replay, I love hearing or reading your comments, so leave that in the comments as well, because those are the kinds of things that I can create more tutorials around if those are the things that's making you feel awkward or stopping you from pressing go live or recording and showing up online more often for your ideal viewer, the person that needs needs to hear the exact thing that you need to share. Okay, so let's keep going. The next part is simplifying the things that is making you freeze. Okay, so if there is a scene, an overlay, or a shortcut, or part of your setup that makes you freeze, it might not belong in your first workflow yet. So I have created scenes that I want to add onto my live stream or to my show, but it feels clunky. It doesn't flow. It's sort of like it halts the movement of my show. So back to the car analogy, it might be, that speed bump or the hole on the road. It's sort of like it doesn't make the driving smooth. So if there's a scene, an overlay, a shortcut, or part of your setup that makes you freeze, maybe you'll just, move that for another time. It might not belong in the next live stream or the next recording that you need to do. It doesn't mean it's bad, and it doesn't mean you wasted time creating it. It just means it may not be needed for that next thing you're creating. Okay, and I just want to quickly say hello to Sheila from Positive Changes. Oh, big heart. Thank you so much, Sheila. I appreciate you being here and hope you are well. Okay, so that is me. Thank you, Sheila, for, checking the chat, because you want to engage the live view, because that's what live stream is about, having that real-time moment, that real-time connection. Okay, so again, sometimes we create a lovely setup, but then the setup becomes too much to actually use. And I've had that. I have this personality. It's like, let me try everything. Let me, if it was an all-you-can-eat buffet, I'm like, let me try everything, okay? And then what happens when you eat too much? You can't move. You get indigestions, right? You get too full. It's the same with any applications or any tool that you are new to. You want to try everything because you think by knowing every single little thing about that tool is going to remove the the uncertainty. You think it might make you feel confident, but more often than not, it can actually be too much burden, right? Think of the all-you-can-eat. Oh, now I can't move. I've got indigestion. I'm going to go sit on the couch, right? If you think I need to learn every little feature of Ecamm or whatever tool that you're using is the thing that's going to make you confident, it probably most likely be the thing that will freeze you, okay? Because if you have all these things, if there are too many scenes, too many overlays, too many options, too many tiny little decisions that you need to make. Oh, what font, what color, what thickness of the border. That, instead of that supporting you, it can actually overload you. So if you already have scenes for your own live stream, I want you to look at your setup and ask, what part of this helps me run the live stream? What part of this makes me hesitate and be too nervous to press go live? What part of it can wait for a different live stream or recorded video altogether? You know, that a scene that you created might not be for now, but I'm going to bank that, put that in a different folder for use later and title it use later. Or for me, I use, other scenes. Okay, what part can I hide? What part can I rename? What part can I simplify or remove from this next workflow? Okay, maybe you just keep a host scene like this. Okay, maybe you keep just a screen share. So I know Sheila loves cooking, and so sometimes she's doing her show in the backyard on the deck. Maybe it's just one camera, and maybe a scene that will go to her oven or something, or a camera that will go to her oven. Okay, maybe you keep the check the chat scene, so you're engaging with your viewer, but ignore the fancy lower thirds maybe for now. Okay, you ignore the extra camera angle for now. Okay, you might ignore the stream deck buttons that you meticulously programmed, but then there's no point having all those buttons if you're not going live and you're not using them. Maybe because it's just because you don't trust them yet, so don't use them. Okay, or maybe you ignore the scene that looks nice, but you don't actually know when you would use it. Okay, you're not deleting your creativity. And I know for a lot of my viewers, the women who are crafty, who want to share their knowledge, they want it to look aesthetically pleasing, because maybe their viewer and the niche they're in has the aesthetic background. If you're a creative, you're an artist, you're a crocheter, and you want to make it, the scenes that you create support the type of things you talk about. So prettiness does matter. But for your next live show, for your next recorded video, so then you have more confidence pressing go live and not feeling stuck, it's not about deleting your creativity. All you're doing for the moment is you're reducing the number of things your brain, for me, going through the perimenopausal stage and brain fog kicks in a lot more times than not, right? You're reducing the number of things your brain has to manage while you're live or recording, because it's already you use up a lot of capacity, a lot of energy when you're live streaming. And then if you've got all these things that you have to remember, oh, when do I move to this scene? Oh, what do I do with that? Oh, okay. Those things reduce the overwhelm, and that's got to matter, okay? Because the goal is not how impressive can I make this setup look like. The goal is, can I use this setup with enough confidence, right? Not 100% confident, because you're always going to have that little bit of nerves, especially when you're talking about something new. The question or the goal is, can I use this setup with enough confidence to create the thing I came here to create? Okay, that's all we're doing. Sheila says, I'm not quite that advanced, only use one camera, but I can hope. I didn't know that. Okay, well, I know that you only had one camera, but this bit of you're not quite that advanced, I watched your Thanksgiving getting ready video with your daughter, and it looked like it was one of those cooking shows that I watch on TV. So I need you to remove that I'm not quite that advanced. What does advanced mean? Yes, if you're comparing your setup to, a cooking show like MasterChef, but for your viewer, what you're doing is enough. And that's all I want us live streamers who feel stuck, who feel frozen. think about is I'm not creating MasterChef production. I'm not creating a morning talk show, although I have that idea in mind, creating a show where I do the different little segments, right? But if we put us, especially women, put this limiting belief, this self-doubt, this negative talk in our head, then of course we are not going to see ourselves as advanced as someone, people might not want to watch. Okay, so yes, honestly, Sheila, when I watched your getting ready and your cooking, man, it even inspired me. Maybe I should go do some cooking and some baking. It's one of the things that I love doing when I was young. And those are the things. You don't know who you might inspire today if you are not pressing go live, or if you're not recording, or not just chatting on, on the camera while you're doing the dishes. That's also another thing that Sheila has done, Positive Changes on her channel has done, where she's just chatting, sharing, and that is valuable because someone else who's feeling the same way will know I'm not alone. So we need to unfreeze ourselves, right? We don't need to be unfrozen in full, right? We just need to have that tiny little bit of confidence, and confidence will come from you doing it, going live, you recording more often and showing up online to be able to share your knowledge, your insight, your quirkiness, entertainment, or connection with the viewer that pressed subscribe, that want to hear from you, that want to see and are looking out for the notification that you have another video to go live. Okay, so the question or the goal is, can I use the setup that I have with enough confidence to create the one thing that I came here to create? And that's just for the next live stream, or that's just for the next video. That's not for, all the shows that you have in mind. Okay, so the thing that I want to a practical thing I want to talk about is, having a simple run sheet. Okay, so again, this doesn't need to be fancy. I love fancy. I love creating PDFs. I love creating nice written things in my planner, but it doesn't need to be fancy. Okay, you can write it in a notebook. You can put it on a Google Doc with the simplest font, Times Roman, right? It can be on a sticky note, or just, have a piece of paper with your live stream notes. And I want you to write these simple things, okay? What happens during my show? I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about this, okay? What scene do I need for that? Okay, I need a camera just on me. If I'm showing, my desk, I might move the camera if I only have one camera, okay? So what do I click next? When I talk about this, and then I talk about this, I'll click onto that, okay? So let's do an example, all right? So I'm going to pretend I have a show, all right? So I'm going to start, because again, doing a simple run sheet like this, what happens, what scene do I use, what do I click next? That's like your GPS, that's like your map that will let you know I start here and I need to get over there. So what are the turns that I need to do? And that is what a simple run sheet can do for you. All right, so I might start with, hello, I'm Marianne, and this is what I'm going to talk about today. And then maybe I want to, show something on screen. Okay, so then those are the things that, let me quickly, I think I jumped. See, this is when I need to see where I'm at. I think I've, oh, okay. All right, so I think I move through the different stuff. All right, so I start a host scene, and then I show something on screen, and then I come back to me again. Maybe I pause for a break, and then I close the scene, and that's the scene. Okay, I think I'm back to where I'm at. All right, so that is, you know, what a running sheet is. It's like your map. Back in my day, before GPS, we had the book. You know, you had to go and look and go flip through to the pages. All right, so that is what a run sheet is, and the run sheet becomes the little driving map, because you're not trying to remember everything in your head. Okay, you're just giving yourself a simple path to follow. All right, so if you have Ecamm scenes, but then, you know, still think, okay, now what? Where do I start? Okay, so first, choose what you are actually creating next. Okay, I want to do a live stream about this. People are asking, or, you know, it's that season or that major holiday is coming up. I want to create a recipe for that. Or, you know, it's winter and people's hair and skin are drying out. Maybe I want to talk about certain moisturizer or hair product. Okay, so yes, Sheila says, I was definitely the map girl on our road trips with mum and dad. Me too, me too. I'm in the back going, okay, on that street, okay, it says George Street, and on the map it says we have to turn left. The third street after that, Dad, that was me as well. All right, see, that's why we love each other. We're like hanging out with each other. Okay, so first, choose what you are actually creating next. Okay, and then I want you to write down a simple flow. What are you going to talk about from start to finish? And then once you know what you're going to talk about, you're gonna match the scene to that flow. All right, so these are easy, simple steps. Okay, and then once you've done that, what are we going to do? We gotta practice moving through the scenes. So if we're just like learning how to drive a car, we got to log in those hours practicing driving, parallel parking, reverse parking, stopping at a stop sign, you know, do those dead stop, give way, okay? Practice moving through the scenes. And then finally, I want you to simplify anything that makes you freeze. If you hesitate, if you're unsure about it, okay, take it out. You don't need a fancier setup before you begin. You just need a setup that you can actually use, okay? So if you are here and you're, you know, listening to this and, you know, you go, I've already spent so much time, you know, trying to figure things out myself. I mean, how many number of hours have you watched tutorials, troubleshooted different things, and knowing, how do I do that? I saw someone else do that. How do I do it? Okay. I want you to notice that. Okay. How much time have you been trying to figure things out all yourself? Because sometimes the cost is not just the tool. Okay. It's the time you have spent clicking around, fixing your scenes, watching the tutorials, and still feeling, you know, not feeling confident enough to go live or record. Okay. And if that's not, you know, it's not that you're not techie. I've heard a lot of women go, oh, I'm not techie enough. And then they use that as a reason not to press go live. It's not that you're not techie. It's just you think it takes a lot of effort to go and figure everything out. I mean, when you drive a car, did you first go look under the hood and go, I need to know every part of the hood before I start driving? No, you just learned what you needed to learn. Brakes, clutch, gear, you know, indicators, steering wheel, mirrors, all the stuff that you needed. And that is enough. You're not trying to learn the whole thing. You're not trying to be a mechanic. Okay, car analogy again. You're not trying to be a mechanic. You're just learning how to drive. So you don't need to go and be techie to go live, okay? Unless that's what your show is about, to learn everything about an app or a tool so then you can share how to use it, okay? Sometimes you just need someone to say, to calmly walk through it with you, just like I am doing right now, okay? And you might just need help help you see what actually matters instead of overwhelming yourself with that you need to know everything, okay? And have someone help you simplify the setup. That way you can actually use it. And that's, the kind of thing that I do in my creator support session. So this is a new service that I have created, and I've had some wonderful clients already that have, when I go through with them going, they have literally said, oh, so is that it? That's so simple. But they have been frozen for months. So if you want help with your own setup, you can book a free discovery call with me, and we can have a chat to see, if that is the hurdle that's at the moment that's keeping you stuck. Okay, so I'll have the details in the description below. All right. So before I will wrap up. Okay, I want to know what part of using Ecamm scenes or whatever live streaming tool that you're using, what part of using your Ecamm scene feels most awkward right now. All right, is it knowing which scene to start with? Is it moving from scene to scene, sharing your screen, using the Stream Deck? If you purchased an Elgato Stream Deck and haven't even used it, all right, is that the thing that's most awkward right now? Or is it knowing what to say between the scenes? Or is it just feeling confident pressing go live or record? All right, so if you're watching the replay, make sure to leave it in the comment. And because again, that is going to help me know what would be most useful to create next. Okay, so if this made you realize that your scenes need a clearer order, and make sure to hit that like button, and I want you to watch this next video here, how to plan a simple live stream show flow. So we briefly touched on how to write a show flow in this live stream, but if you want to know exactly the steps that I use, like I've done in today's live stream, I have the video linked in the description, and that's going to help you map out, okay, so those drives, those turns, map out what happens first, what comes next, when to show something, when to come back to camera, how to wrap things up. Because once you know the flow of your own live stream, it's gonna become much easier to know which Ecamm scenes to use and when to use them. And remember, creating scenes is not the same as knowing how to run the show. So make sure, start with the flow, match your scene to that flow, practice, okay? So if you're a visual learner like me, Marianne said, like a car analogy, practice the movement and simplify what makes you freeze, okay? Sheila says, your advice helped me in my last life. Oh, yay, that's a big win. Yay, thank you so much for letting me know that, Sheila. Yeah, so again, it's just knowing one tiny little thing at a time, okay? So, so simplify, knowing, having a show flow or what to say next will help you simplify and stop that freeze, okay? And the rest, guess what? All the other things, they can come later. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be either here or check the description below. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.